Potential energy. Potential energy is the energy stored within an object due to the object's position, arrangement, or state. Potential energy is one of the two main forms of energy, along with kinetic energy. Here's an example of potential energy. It's an inflated balloon. It has the potential energy in the stretched rubber. As a rubber tries to get back to its initial state, the balloon pushes the air out and it begins to move, so there is kinetic energy. What is potential energy? Potential energy is energy that is stored or conserved in an object or substance. This stored energy is based on the position, arrangement, or state of the object or substance. You can think of it as energy that has the potential to do work. When the position, arrangement, or state of the object changes, the stored energy will be released. For example, it requires energy to compress a spring, but what happens to that energy once the spring has been compressed? After all, we know that energy cannot be created or destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. Well, in the case of the spring, the kinetic energy used to compress the spring has been converted to potential energy. When we release the spring, the stored potential energy will be converted to kinetic energy. So here, the spring is normal, static, not moving. Here, the spring is compressed. And when compressed or stretched, a spring gains elastic potential energy. And then when it's stretched, kinetic energy is used to compress a string as stored potential energy until it's released. So if you stretch it, it wants to squish back down. If you push it together, it wants to spread back apart. That's elastic potential energy. What are the different types of potential energy? There are two main types of potential energy: gravitational potential energy and elastic potential energy. Gravitational potential energy is energy in an object that is held in a vertical position due to the force of gravity working to pull it down. The amount of gravitational potential energy an object has depends on its height and mass. The heavier the object, the higher it is above the ground, the more gravitational potential energy it holds. Gravitational potential energy increases as weight and height increases. Potential energy is energy that's stored in an object or a substance. Gravitational potential energy is energy in an object that is held in a vertical position, and elastic potential energy is energy stored in objects that can be stretched or compressed. It's got a really good picture here. The green skier has more gravitational potential energy because he weighs more. Okay? This one says the blue skier has more gravitational potential energy because he is at a greater height. So elastic potential energy is stored in objects that can be stretched or compressed, such as trampolines, rubber bands, and bungee cords. The more an object can stretch, the more elastic potential energy it has. I like these pictures. What are some examples of potential energy? Examples of potential energy include a rock sitting on the edge of a cliff. If the rock falls, the potential energy will be converted to kinetic energy as the rock will be moving. A stretched elastic string on a longbow. When the elastic string is released, it will cause the arrow to shoot forward. This is chemical potential energy. A sparkler. The chemical potential energy in a sparkler will be released when the top of the stick is lit. The food we eat. Food contains chemical potential energy. As our bodies digest it, the stored energy is converted into energy for us to move and grow. What do you mean? Potential energy is energy that is stored in an object or a substance. Gravitational potential energy is energy in an object that is held in a vertical position, and elastic potential energy is stored in objects that can be stretched or compressed. All right, that's it for the reading today.